Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Epic Mind Visions. Today, I have with me Chris Oppenheimer, a good friend of mine. He's the founder and CEO of Botany Scientifics, changing the game for full spectrum hemp. He has many products on the market that are helping humanity heal and evolve in every way. Chris is an amazing person. I'm following him on social media, and he's always got something interesting to say. So, welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Well, thank you, Jeff, for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Today, I wanted to dive into you a little bit deeper into not only full spectrum hemp products and the challenges of founding and running a full spectrum hemp company, but your story. How did you get here? How did you end up as the founder of a full spectrum hemp company, and what does that mean to you? How does that play into your epic mind vision for yourself and humanity in today's world?
Well, I think we're in a place in the world where authenticity is going to win the game. And my story of darkness is what brought this whole thing to life. In fact, in our logo, Botany Scientifics, the two dots are green and the rest of it's black. And that's because it just takes a little bit of life to in that darkness. And that's all I had at one time. And I want to give that back to humanity. And when I found out it was a plant that we were told was not good for us, I could no longer sit back and just be at peace with that. I have a moral obligation now that I know what I know.
Right. Well, they say, well, I guess it's also would it be physics? I guess you can't have light without darkness, right?
That is true.
Yeah. So that's part of it. So I'm grateful to hear that you found the light in your darkness, because a lot of people never get to that point, and some of those people have been in my life, and I know how that ends, or it can end really really dark. So finding the light is part of our journey, and I think as we evolve ourselves and we go through life and we live and we learn, it's part of the journey. And I feel that the people who have been through the darkness in their life, which we all have to some degree, but have been to the edge of darkness perhaps, are always able to match that with the other side, the equal intensity of light. You can only experience light to the level or degree that you've experienced darkness, at least in my experience. So I
I'm
think
right there
that,
with you.
yeah, the people who have been there are often the ones who are going out and doing amazing things in the world, because they understand where they've been and that they could still be there. And they often have curated and created a higher level of gratitude for where they're at. So that plays out into higher levels of creativity and just expressing themselves into the world. And I love hanging out with people like that, and I guess that's what made me gravitate towards you.
Well, I mean, my story is wild, and my last name, we could start right there with Oppenheimer, and yes, I'm related. All I know is there were five brothers that came over, but what I do know is J. Robert Oppenheimer was on the cusp of creating atomic energy, which is what will end up saving the world energy wise anyway. And so my name is on that, but that ended up in destruction because we have politicians that wanted to be war heroes, right?
Right.
And we took a great idea, ruined a great relationship between Oppenheimer and Einstein, and we know how the rest of that story went. And then here I am 4 years ago. I decided to go in the jungle right before my father passed, and we broke off that generational curse. And I know that plants are the answer. It's no coincidence they're using the hemp plant to extract toxins out of soils where we've had atomic. And I'm here over here creating full spectrum hemp products with a badass scientific team. And people are like, how does he know this stuff? I don't know. It's just in my genes. Is that what people say? I don't know. I'm just going with it and I follow my soul.
Yeah, well, that's the way to do it. I think that at least in my understanding of that whole thing, is that the idea of atomic energy got, as you kind of hinted at, hijacked by politicians and warmongers. And the core science of it and the core possibility of it is still, like you said, it could save the world.
And isn't that what they've done with the plants as well? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're talking, so this is why I guess that's why I'm a Libra. I am this balance of what I saw over here, what I feel over here, and I'm walking down a path every day. All I know is to be obedient, put one foot in front of the other, and drop my ego. And the minute I do that, everything else always seems to fall into place. Has for 7 years, so why stop manifesting the right way to do things now?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and learning as much as I have about metaphysics and those kinds of realms, the atomic part of it comes from the dodecahedron. Basically, it's just like that was the core of the atomic energy. And if you know about the platonic solids and all that, I dove into all of that. So it's fascinating to see how it's related to not only atomic energy, but just everything that, that we the way we live in the world, the way we experience the world, all kind of boils down to those core elements, the elements. So it's fascinating.
Like I say, I'm attached to nothing, connected to everything.
Yeah.
And if we all took that approach of oneness, we could solve a lot of problems together. I think that's why we connected when we met. We knew we'd both been through something. We just didn't know how.
Yeah, exactly. Well, how did you get through, for the viewers who maybe are in darkness, or maybe coming out of darkness, or wherever they're at along the journey? How did you get through the darkness and start to find the light in your life, and end up creating Botany Scientifics? You said 7 years ago, to expand that mission, that vision, and that the medicine to the world.
Well, I guess for me it was when I was in rehab in 2004, 22 years ago. One of the things that I took a deep dive in 22 years ago was, why am I in rehab and people can't smoke? People can smoke, but they can't smoke marijuana. And there's people in rehab for marijuana, and I'm sitting here going, there's a plant. And I went into a deep dive on my own before there was AI or anything, and I realized we have an endocannabinoid system. We've never been taught it. It's been held back from us. And then in rehab, from that point on, I slowly end up on 7 medications by the time 2022 rolls around. Here I've been in the hemp industry for a few years, right in the midst of COVID, starting a business. That's a whole nother world on top of what you're trying to introduce to the world. But now we're in a place where there's a lot of mistrust. And I believe education and being good stewards and not expecting anything in return. I feel like there's so many coaches and so many licenses and so many, it's just everything has become something that's not natural to me at all. And what's natural is going out and just being a good example of the right way to do something. We're the only example other people are ever going to have any belief in themselves. And so we got to look at ourselves and go inward and become the best version of ourselves, because that's all somebody's ever going to see. And every product we put out is to create a solution for a problem that we've been taking a lot of these things for that are prescribed to us, or that we take on as something's wrong with us. And we realize we're multi-dimensional and multi-aware, and getting somebody to shrink down and not be creative is easier to do than let a bunch of creative people create the process.
It's easier to control. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm watching these 12 and 15-year-old kids going into college, getting on Adderall and all these things they're searching for. In fact, there's a shortage of Adderall in our country, and That's what grounded is at botany. It is a natural solution to get you back to your own brilliance, but without the meth salt. So you're not going to feel the high. You're going to have to figure yourself out, but
Right.
you're going to be healthy. You're going to be brilliant. And people don't even know how to just be themselves anymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I'm very grateful I'm not a high schooler right now. I have a son who's going to be 21 soon, but he's got his stuff figured out, but I don't know that I would if I were his age, and certainly if I were 15 or 16 or something like that. It seems like it would be a very, very difficult time to be a teenager. So there's that part of it. But for those of us who maybe are newer to the endocannabinoid system, can you describe that or lay that out for us in the, kind of third or fourth grader language so that we can get our, wrap our head around it a little bit?
Yeah, I'm actually writing a child's book about a little boy named Botany.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because this is the level we need to break it down to, third to fifth grade level.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's
and
very
and
creative in
bottom,
its own.
yeah, or the endocannabinoid system. If you've ever seen an orchestra, there's a conductor in front of the orchestra,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And our endocannabinoid system is the orchestrator of the entire body. All of our organs, the heart, the liver, the adrenal, everything that operates in the body, all is conducted by our endocannabinoid system. So everybody's been chasing symptoms of something going out of whack, but they've never addressed the body. And that's our endocannabinoid system. And it's ironic and so misleading to make people believe this plant is not for the human body when the structure of the hemp cannabis, let's say cannabis, because hemp marijuana, these are all words they throw around. It's all when it's grown, extracted. I mean, there's a science to every part of this, but the hemp plant yields low amounts of THC.
Right.
And we're taking the full plant and we're allowing that to go into the body. And so now the orchestrator gets fed. And the orchestrator has not been fed because we poison our foods with chemicals on our crops. Our crops with good soils used to yield cannabinoids and all kinds of other nutritional benefits, but we're not getting that out of our foods anymore. So, if anything, if we have a gas tank full, three quarters, half, quarter empty, 99% of people's in the cannabinoid tanks are empty.
Wow. I didn't realize that other foods fed into the endocannabinoid system. That's a new one for me.
We are more connected to plants than any medication we're
Right.
putting in our body.
Right. Well, and most of those medications, the idea at least, or the concept came from plants. They just synthesized it.
Yeah, because you can't patent a plant.
Right.
And so what you can do though is man can strip it away from humanity and call it a law and throw a lot of fear into it. And then you got people like me that have been on the other side because Adderall led me to methamphetamines. Methamphetamines led me to streets. The streets led me to learning about my endocannabinoid system. And my endocannabinoid system led me to the jungle. And my jungle has led me to creating a new way forward as we move into the 250th year of our country,
Right.
because business as usual no longer works. We're looking all around. People are tired of the gimmicks, the jokes, the I'll one up you, I'll do this, I'll go out promote, I'll go out bid. Let's get back to the real heart of it and start collaborating together. I think the real future of the world is a world of collaboration and a world of cooperation instead of where we've been.
Right. Right. Well, I think with all of the technology and our ability to consume information, the amount of information that's available to us, a lot of it's bullshit, truth. But I think that our exceptional abilities as recognizing machines gives us an intuition where some of us who are maybe a little bit more aware of these things can tune in and understand and recognize, the shit from Shinola, if you will, and start to understand that, you know, the government is not your friend. The food companies are not your friend. The companies are not your friend. And they're all just feeding us all of this poison, like you kind of hinted at, to, you know, for control to some degree, but mostly for profit as well. So it leaves us as individuals in a position where we don't have available, you know, anything that's natural available to us, or very little that's natural that's available to us. So it's on us to find these things and to go back and do the investigation, educate ourselves, and figure out how we can balance ourselves. You know, I buy food locally a lot more than I ever have, for that reason, because I know the people who are growing it. I know where it comes from. And that makes a big difference to me, just even just psychologically, to know, okay, well, this isn't just some, you know, thing in a plastic package I got from Walmart. Like, this came from, you know, Jim and Janet down the street or whatever. My eggs and my meat and my watermelons and all that kind of stuff. It makes a huge difference. So if we take that and put it into terms of, well, how can we create solutions that go around or beyond the medical system and the pills that they're pushing, like with Adderall. It's like, okay, I know people who, adults, you know, my age, who use Adderall as a tool for performance or just to get through their day or get through life or whatever. And I'm kind of miffed by that. I'm like, I've never considered doing that. I've never considered taking Adderall as like a supplement, like, you know. It's like I hear this come up over and over again. It's like people are doing this on a daily basis. I'm like, why do you need that? You know,
they're killing their adrenals.
Right.
It's just, and at the end of the day, they just taught us by microdosing us methamphetamines. There are 3 methamphetamine salts in Adderall.
Okay.
And so if we're microdosing that, why can't we microdose THC? Why can't we microdose mushrooms? Why can't, you know, why is the government allowed to promote drugs, but the things that are the answers they're taking away from us?
Right.
And that goes into the politics and it gets political. And we're here in Texas. And I think there's 2 Democrats right now and a Republican. We got Don Patrick, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's been a Republican, and and this is not political. This is why I want to bring it up. Is plants should not be political. It should be up to every human being's own responsibility. If you can grow it and raise it, you should not call that a problem. And if people want to make a lotion potion in their backyard and sell it to their friends and family, that's going back thousands of years. However, when we created Botany, I knew I wanted to be able to find ways to always dose properly, always be able to have the same exact formula. And that's why we're in an FDA GMP compliant facility, which a lot of people in our space don't even know what that looks like.
Right.
Wait until you see our sleep gummy label that's about to come out. It got held up in production because we're following what the FDA wants in all 50 states. Meanwhile, that whole structure's falling apart above us. And if the new people coming in knew how tough they were making it for us to share the truth, you know what I'm saying? It's like the people need to be freed. And that's why I'll stand here all day long. That's why I'll manifest stewards that catch our vision and want to throw fuel on the fire, because we got the foundation. We're doing it right. We got the Health Advocacy Board, and thank you for being on that and your leadership in that role, because that's what makes what we're doing powerful. We want to give people their freedom back.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you know, this country was built on freedom, and I'm a big believer in freedom. You know, it's never perfect. People think it can be perfect, but it's just not. And when you look at how much blood has been shed just to get to this level in the U.S., you know, the freedoms that we have, it's like, you know, people want it to be perfect. It's just not. That's just not the way it
No,
works.
it's not. And back to let's not just give credit to Paxton, but I met Vicki Goodwin, and Vicki Goodwin has been a proponent. She's right there in the Austin area, I believe, and she's doing the right thing for our industry. She's showing up this week at an event in the Houston area supporting our industry. You know, I'd like to see these politicians all get together and do a public video, and let's hear what they really have to answer to the public in
Right.
real time. I'm tired of voting people that they tell us is good. Let us put them on a main stage and
Right.
let the real people start asking some questions, and let's heal our country. It's time. And that's
Right.
really where I am as we roll into the 4th of July, Jeff. I just am. I'm proud to be an American, and I grew up. I mean, in the '70s, my dad was the military, a Vietnam veteran. My mom was trained by Mary Kay Ash. I get what's right and wrong. I've been on both sides. I
Yeah.
want to heal humanity, and I started with myself, and now it's time to share it with the world.
Yeah. Well, and I'm the same way. I grew up in kind of the same era, and it's like that personal autonomy over one's body, over one's consciousness, to say, okay, well, I want to expand my consciousness, and there's these plants and medicines that can help me do that. I'm making the conscious choice to do that. I should have the autonomy to do that and to control what's going into my body, right? And to really follow my own intuition on what is good for me, and not have the government poking into everything about my business and saying, no, you can't do that because whatever. And so whatever their story is, and so many people, most people, I think, are really heavily programmed around what these medicines are, what these plants are, and what they're capable of, and not really seeing the bigger picture that they're being controlled for a reason, and it's not in your best interest. you know.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you and I can't say that publicly without getting, whatever they want to do. But we're getting bold, and that's what needs to happen
Right.
because you can't slay Goliath unless you take the shot. And we're not against anybody. I'm not combative. I'm not mad. I may get intense. I may get passionate.
Right.
But at the end of the day, my heart is in the right place and I want to do the right thing. And I think what's frustrating for those of us in this industry that have been doing the right thing, going above and beyond, and then still have the state come after us and still have to put a child safety lock on your sleep gummy that nobody's ever had an issue with other than I've had the best night of sleep of my life. Like it's really interesting, but it's because they're trying to put people like us out of business because they know
Right.
if they can keep you wrapped up in court long enough and they can keep you wrapped up in doing your packaging over and over and scaring people that they're going to have to pay a big fee to carry a hemp product. Like, let's just get real.
Yeah.
And then you go to the beverage convention and you hear that the companies that are against us out with the alcohol are all of a sudden getting intertwined and want to get in a THC industry. And we've got to be good stewards to keep the right people doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm watching the companies that went from good ingredients to bad ingredients and never told us the truth. I don't want to be in business. I don't want to do business with people like that anymore. And I hope more and more consumers will start thinking like that, not just talking like that, speaking it with their dollar bills.
Yeah.
Start putting your money where people are doing the right thing so more good can happen. I've always said when money is in the hands of good people, more good will happen. And that's what I see in the industry we're in. The right people are coming together, they're being manifested, so it's time to shift people in to a higher consciousness of healing. And healing begins from the inside, not the outside
Right.
world.
Right. Yeah, 100%. And I think it is challenging in this world because there is a lot of programming out there, and I was a victim to that. I still am programmed to whatever in whatever ways, but I'm way more aware than I ever was. I think earlier in my 20s and 30s, I felt really overwhelmed. How, I knew that these things were wrong. How can I make a difference? But that saying, be the change, was it Gandhi? Somebody, be the change you want to see, is there's no greater truth than that. It starts in your own backyard. It starts with you taking that responsibility and changing your world by, with voting with your dollars. All of those things matter when they add up, but I think most people they don't feel like they have that power to make a difference because you can't see it right away. Like I'm saying, like me buying local, in the grand scheme of things, it's making a difference. It makes a difference for me in my kitchen, but can I see that in my greater reality right now? No, it's not visible. But if everybody did that, then we would change the world in a heartbeat. If
Well,
everybody
it's
made more
biblical.
conscious
So and so
decisions.
begot so and so, and somebody just heard that you're buying your meat local. I'm buying mine online from a really good source,
There you
but
go.
I could even go more local myself for a really good source. And so somebody's hearing that message like me, and they're going to go, I'm not going to be so lazy. I'll actually trot my ass down to the farmer's
Yeah,
market.
go down to the farmer's market and build a relationship. I built a
Yeah,
relationship with my rancher.
and you know what? That's how it was when I was a kid, and that's how we've got to get back to, because there's real value in real relationships, and I'm so glad that I got to know you outside of the podcast before we did this. We never talked about what we were going to talk about
Right.
because I don't script anything in my life. I believe in being hitting things head on. So if you ever have a question for me, Jeff, man, feel free to ask.
Definitely.
But I think we're in a place in the world where people are looking for real people to trust. And if I've done anything at Botany Scientifics right, it's attract the right people to portray the message with me so I'm not doing it alone.
Yeah.
We have an entire health advocacy board, corporate team that are in it. They're a wheel on the bus, like they're there. You know what I'm saying? They're part of the process as we're building this rocket ship to be able to serve humanity in a powerful way. I mean, imagine if one full spectrum hemp capsule could get rid of multiple issues and things that you're taking just because the orchestrator of your body is putting their body
Yeah,
into
balancing
balance.
out. Yeah. Yeah, and I learned a lot. I haven't had this discussion with you in the past yet, but I was connected to a holistic doctor in Orange County, California for several years and was helping him with some things. And so I got to go to a lot of his workshops. He would do workshops every Saturday on certain topics. And he would do one whole day for the practitioners and one whole day for the public. And I got to go to all of them. And I mean, he was really a genius. And so it's really about people thinking about their hormones, like how they're balancing their hormonal system and things like that, and the disruptors that are in play. Most people are so unaware that the perfumes or, oh, that candle smells so great. Like, what store did I walk in a couple days ago? I think it was Dollar General. I was going to get a card for my daughter, and it's like the cards there are super cheap. So I walk in, and it's just like a blast of perfume. Like everything there has some kind of, alternative scent, some kind of synthetic scent to it. And I just don't do any of that because my understanding, from what I've learned, is that disrupts your endocrine system, right? Why would you do that? And so you start there, and you have so many things that you can change in your life. So I don't know how I got off on that, but one question I do have for you, Chris, is you talked about the health advocacy board. Without going through like everybody's bio, what was your vision? Like, what pieces did you bring together with all of the knowledge that those people have? And the people that I've met that are on the board are amazing, incredibly intelligent, incredibly evolved and aware. But just as far as the component pieces that they bring to the table, like what does that look like, and how does that
Well,
feed
how it
into
happened,
your mission?
yeah, thank you. And really it's all evolved perfectly, but I really believe I hold the vision deep in my heart, in my mind, in my soul. Like when I went into the jungle, it was Please guide me in a way to move business into the new world. And everything that's happened in the last 4 years doesn't make sense to 90% of the people. Because they don't understand what making a shift in business really is. Like our back to community pricing versus our online pricing, our affiliate, all the things that I've seen happen over the years. I've seen companies compete with online. I wanted to solve all these issues so that everybody could work together and really get back to their community and serve what matters most. And that's the people around us. And so it's taken time, but our whole team understands and they feel the shift. And when people become part of our brand and get involved, they understand. But our health advocacy board, what did I need when I was in my addiction? I needed a good attorney. Well, here you are. I needed a good nurse that would not only listen to my story, but give me an option other than medication. You know what I'm saying? Like when you speak to Ashley, she's going to give you the truth about each side and what you do with it. That's your choice.
Right.
And so some people are ready to steward their own health. Some people aren't. When I look at Christy is a human resource person. How many people do you hear? Oh, I'd love to do that. Or as soon as I retire, I'm going to hit me up a real big. It's because they're afraid to get fired. But we're testing for THC. It's something our bodies create. When they start teaching that in 8th grade science, everybody that's been in jail, been paid money, worried about going to work high. By the way, what does testing for THC prove? Right. It doesn't prove you're incompetent to work. Right. We know what an incompetent drunk looks like. I've never seen an incompetent high person. They fall asleep. So if they're falling asleep on the job, you got a problem. But if you got somebody in high creativity mode, run with that person. Right. Pay them as much as you need to because that's your people. And that's what we got to get back to. And so human resources is important to me because I think corporate America is the next big thing as a brand that I think everybody, but more than anything, I want to create a safe space. And Botany is that safe space because the employer-employer relationship can remain solvent, but they know that they can trust the company and their employee. If you think your employee's using Botany so they can go get high somewhere else, well, that's an integrity issue. Right. We're here to heal people naturally with their God-given endocannabinoid system.
Right.
And until every human being knows that it orchestrates everything in our body, everything else we're trying to fix is masking the problem.
Yeah, 100%. Well, that's really cool that you thought through what you would need in your darkness and kind of created the team around you so that all of those needs can be addressed and so that they can have some version of truth, of choice, and of options and perspectives that they're not going to hear if they're solely stuck in the traditional medical environment.
Yeah, and the big one now, Jeff, is AI. And I told our team, we got to find good stewards of AI. Like this whole thing can be positive or negative real quick. And so within 2 weeks, we had manifested a beautiful soul. She's on our health advocacy board now too, awesome, to help steward our team in the way and her name is Esther. So we've got amazing people that we're attracting into our brand because we want people to be safe moving into the new world with a plant that we've been told wasn't safe. So we're going to all move into this together at one time. And I believe through my own death, yes, I did die. That could be another podcast. But I did die. I did come back to life. Here I am. And so I know I'm here for something way greater than me. So I'm just here for the ride.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Chris, we could talk about this for hours, and I definitely want to have you come back on and talk more about the products that you've created with Botany Scientifics and how they apply specifically to the challenges that people have and how they can potentially replace those traditional prescription type medicines, and the results that your clients are getting with Botany Scientific's products, and how it just is already making such an impact in people's lives. And maybe we can do that with you or someone else on the health advocacy board, but I would love to have someone come back and talk more specifically about those topics.
Absolutely. The three products that we've created from the ground up are sleep, grounded, and our one cream. And I'd love to come back and share that. We could have Ashley or anyone on our health advocacy board, because we are here to educate. And one thing I want to be clear is we can't heal, prevent, or cure anything. We're just taking plants from nature and we're putting them into our body. And the science that we do know and our bodies that we do know, we're seeing things happen. And I have no control over that. It's miracles, and if you believe in that, then that's what we're selling is miracles. But we cannot heal, prevent, or tell anybody we're going to solve any problem, because that's not me, that's God. All I am is a messenger, and I hope that the right people get the right message.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all about education. And I think doing podcasts like this and just really putting it out there, writing a book like you're doing, it's all about education. It hits the right person at the right time, and they start to understand that they have options. There's different perspectives. There's different ways to approach challenges that they have in their lives, and it's not a one and done. It's not a one and done with anything else that's prescribed. Yeah, anyway, there's no guarantee, and that often comes with a lot of side effects too. So we do get to trust our intuition, trust the call that we have in our own lives, and trust the power of God to do the healing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jeff. I'm grateful for this opportunity and look forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, it's awesome to get to talk to you more. All right, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.